The sex robots, that's an old video. I've seen it before.
What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now. Because we'll never
I guess like from, I don't know. It's probably from 10 years ago.
beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are
I did click on the link, but as soon as I started watching, I was like, oh, I've seen this before.
let the truth fade away.
Thank you, though.
This is bigger than ourselves. We won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Uh-oh. Forgot to stop it in time.
Hey daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from
Uh-oh.
TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things
CVC
that go
glasses.
on,
That's right.
especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Welcome everybody. I'm Will Bird, and this is the Colbert Confessional. Something was wrong right there. It probably has to do with my update, so give me just a second. I couldn't hear the Linda Benda thing. Maybe my monitoring is off. Hold on. Audio. What's my monitor channel? Desktop. Monitoring device. Speakers. Rodecaster Pro. Let's apply that, and then I'm going to go back and put it back on Rodecaster Pro and apply that. That was weird that I wonder if there's going to be other shit that I can't hear. I know I can hear videos and shit. I was just watching a video.
Hey, Daddies, it's me.
Yeah, for some reason I can't hear that.
From TikTok.
Hold on
I
just a
wanted
second.
to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals.
Monitor and
with
output,
Will
so it should be
Bird.
coming through my monitor
I think
channel,
that's
but
just
it's not.
Incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued.
Oh, well.
But you know what I'm most intrigued?
Welcome everybody. I'm Will Bird. This is the Colbert Confessional. Thank you for joining us. We might have audio issues, not sure, but I know that I can hear videos, which is what we're going to watch anyway. So there you go. We'll see what happens with. I couldn't hear Linda Benda, but it could be because we had another power outage tonight. It was just enough to reset everything, and I didn't realize that my audio board was off. So I restarted everything, the computer and everything. I was sitting here for a long time looking at something on my phone. And then when I put my headphones in, I was like, why is nothing working? And then I turned my audio feedback back on after OBS was open. So that might be the only problem. I don't know. It also forced me to do an update today, so we'll see what happens there. Yeah. Either way, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. Like I said, I'm Will Bird. This is Colbert Confessional, and we're going over a Russian refresher, if you will. A Russian refresher. This should be good. By the way, people are not going to find this funny, okay? Let me see if I can find it. I found it funny. I know it's an edgy joke. I know it's in bad taste. But I found it funny. Yeah, it was pretty rough, but I'm going to read it to you anyways. I'm just looking for a screenshot of it. Okay. So there was a tweet from Kylie Jane Kramer that says, I've been trying to wrap my head around how the flooding in Texas became so devastating so quickly. Why not evacuate? Then I saw this. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in just 45 minutes around 4 a.m. That doesn't seem natural. So he's responding to like people that are talking about like geoengineering, and geoengineering caused the flood in Texas, right? So he's responding to these people anyways, and it's Destiny, so you know it's going to be a pretty hot take. And Destiny says, you guys know that they banned watching porn in Texas, right? They banned watching porn in Texas. And even in Tennessee, like if your browser reports, like if you go to Pornhub or whatever, it'll make you show them a picture of your ID. Nobody's going to do that to watch porn. But in Texas, you can't watch porn. So it says, the tweet says, I heard God killed those kids because they were using @NordVPN promo code Destiny to get around the Texas porn ban. Sad face. I know it's fucked up. I know people are going to be like, oh my God, that was kids. You can't be. I know. It still made me laugh. Maybe I'm fucked up. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And then NordVPN had to come on because he tagged them in it. NordVPN had to come on and say, where is it? Hello, everyone. This tweet falsely suggests a sponsorship with us. No such relationship exists anymore. We are reviewing this misuse of our trademark. What the fuck? Tom Knight, an absolute fool, says, hey, NordVPN, do you guys still pay this shit stain to mock dead children for political points? Seriously? Hello, Tom. This tweet falsely suggests a sponsorship with us. No such relationship exists, and we are reviewing the misuse of our trademark. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny, right? Like, and then I saw him in a debate trying to defend this. And someone said, the most fucked up part about it is they were kids, man. They were kids. So you're talking about kids looking at porn? And he said, yeah, because God wouldn't punish them if they were adults. He's punishing them because they're kids. Oh, man. Anyways, Destiny's not canceled. He's not shut down. He's not off Twitter or whatever. He's not banned. But a lot of people are upset with his tweet. But he's also the one that talked about the firefighter at the Trump rally. He's got some pretty hot takes. Some of them kind of funny. I also want to show you this. This is so you know how Trump is giving shit to Brazil right now. We talked about him raising their tariff rate, even though we have a trade surplus with them. They buy more from us than we'll ever buy from them. And we have for the last 20 years. Okay? He's only doing it because their current president is being charged with exactly what Trump did. He organized a mob of his people to come to the Capitol to overthrow the government, and he got busted. And of course, their president is actually going to hopefully be in trouble for this while our president gets reelected, Trump. And the Supreme Court calls him immune to anything. Well, Donald Trump's been giving Brazil a hard time about all this. So the Brazilian president comes out and talks about this and says, if Trump was our president and he did what he did on January 6th, he would be in fucking jail. Listen.
We participated in 5 elections, and never before in this country someone would raise this issue to try to say or try to coup d'etat attempt like Bolsonaro did. No, he's not judged personally. He is being judged by the acts. He tried to organize a coup d'etat. He threatened secretly the death. He planned the death of Vice President, myself, and the Chief Justice. He could be on trial just for that. And the Attorney General denounced yesterday he will be convicted, and I believe in that. Christian, I'd like to say something to the American people. If Trump was...
I'd like to say something to the American people. If Trump was Brazilian and did what he did at the Capitol, he'd be on trial in Brazil for violating our Constitution. He would be arrested if he done that. This last little part is what you need to listen to. Bolsonaro did almost the exact same thing.
Christian, I'd like to say something to the American people. If Trump was Brazilian and if he did what was happening at the Capitol Hill, he'd also be on trial in Brazil and possibly, and he would have violated the Constitution. According to the justices, he could also be arrested if he had done that here in Brazil.
So I want to ask you finally,
we participated in 5 elections.
So if Trump was in Brazil, he would have been prosecuted for violating their Constitution for what he did. That's why Bolsonaro is being prosecuted in Brazil. Trump is trying to give them heavy-handed tariffs to make them stop prosecuting Bolsonaro, which is wild. Again, the claim is, Kevin Hassett or whatever, the claim is that we're getting ready for the golden age of America. We're doing this, we're doing that. And the trade deficit is the reason we're putting these tariffs on other countries. Not Brazil. Brazil has the opposite of a trade deficit. They have a trade surplus. They have for 20 years. He has levied a tariff against Brazil only because he doesn't like that their president is facing their justice system for basically what Trump did. He did what Trump did on January 6th, but he did it in Brazil. All right. The Mueller report. This is a 30-minute video. It covers the findings and stuff in the Mueller report, the charges that came out of that, all the stuff that came from there. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Lisa Desjardins from the PBS NewsHour. When Special Counsel Robert Mueller released his report in March, he indicated that the report speaks for itself.
I don't know who you are or who Eric is. Thanks, though.
But that report is 448 pages long, it is dense, and many of us just don't have time to read it. So my colleague William Brangham and I decided to dig into what the report does and does not say. We begin with the question of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election.
Through 2 years of this investigation, through the indictment of 34 individuals, and then spelled out clearly
34 indictments from it.
in his final report, Robert Mueller made one thing crystal clear. Russia attempted to interfere with our 2016 election. Here's the last thing Mueller said.
And I will close by reiterating the central allegation of our indictments, that there were multiple, systematic efforts to interfere in our election.
Are you mad because I make a living doing this? You sound mad.
And that allegation deserves the attention of every American.
And so that's where we will start. Volume 1 of his report. It's just over half of the total report, and it deals exclusively with what the Russians did.
Mueller lays this out like the entire report, essentially as a large outline, saying Russia attacked in 2 ways. He writes, first, that it carried out a social media campaign that favored...
Never heard of her. Sage? Who's that?
Presidential candidate Donald J. Trump. And second, a Russian intelligence service conducted computer intrusion operations against entities, employees, and volunteers working on the Clinton campaign. Translation, Russia used the internet to fool American voters and hackers to attack Democratic computer networks.
What? Surely not. That's what the Mueller investigation said.
Favored presidential candidate Donald J. Trump. And second, a Russian intelligence service conducted computer intrusion operations against entities, employees, and volunteers working on the Clinton campaign. Translation, Russia used the internet to fool American voters and hackers to attack Democratic computer networks.
According to Mueller's
I absolutely make my living doing this. This is my source. This pays for the office I'm sitting in.
report, the Russian campaign began in mid-2014. That's when employees of what's known as the Internet Research Agency first came to the U.S. to gather the material that they would later use in their elaborate social media postings. This is the IRA's headquarters in St. Petersburg, Russia.
By the end of 2016, the Russians had set up fake social media accounts that reached millions of voters aimed at promoting Trump.
What do you do for a living, cunt?
Or dividing Americans.
The Russians created fake hashtags like hashtag Kids for Trump. They bought thousands of online ads. They impersonated U.S. citizens and set up real political rallies, like a 2015 Confederate rally in Houston. They made posters like this one of minors for...
They literally made this stuff and distributed it, right? They put this out. They set up rallies, dude. They set up rallies in the U.S.
At promoting Trump or dividing Americans.
The Russians created fake hashtags like hashtag Kids for Trump. They bought thousands of online ads. They impersonated U.S. citizens and set up real political rallies.
They created a bunch of these hashtags. I wholeheartedly believe they created the entire QAnon movement. Bought thousands of ads online, impersonated U.S. citizens, and set up real political rallies in the U.S.
Rallies, like a 2015 Confederate rally in Houston. They made posters like this one of minors for Trump to promote a rally in Pittsburgh in 2016.
The Mueller report lays out how this ensnared real American political operatives, including the Trump campaign and its allies. Donald Trump Jr. and top advisors like Kellyanne Conway all retweeted these fake accounts. Let's go to page 34 for an example. It shows a 2016 Facebook post from
I bet you do, cunt.
candidate Trump himself, where he thanked organizers and promoted a rally in Miami. But Mueller writes that Russians in the IRA organized that rally and even used a fake Facebook account to brag that Mr.
What?
Trump a fake account. Let's go to page 34 for an example. It shows a 2016 Facebook post from candidate Trump himself, where he thanked organizers and promoted a rally in Miami. But Mueller writes that Russians in the IRA organized that rally and even used a fake Facebook account to brag that Mr. Trump posted about our event.
The Russian account was like, Mr. Trump posted about our event. No, I got it.
According to the report, IRA staffers also posed as American citizens and tried to communicate with the Trump campaign to ask them for assistance coordinating some of these fake rallies. But the report notes the investigation has not identified evidence that
Everybody knows a wealthy person goes around and says, I'll make more money than you'll ever make. That's what all wealthy people do. Trust me, I know a guy.
any Trump campaign official understood these requests were coming from foreign nationals. And Mueller's investigators found no similar connections between the IRA and the Clinton campaign.
Next, the report looks at Russia's hacking, concluding Russia's largest foreign intelligence service, known as the GRU, attacked the Democratic Party and the Clinton campaign. The investigation found the GRU stole the password and identities of network administrators and used those to get access to Democratic files. The report says the GRU's operations extended beyond stealing material and included releasing documents stolen from the Clinton campaign and its supporters.
To release those materials, the Russians created online personas with names like DC Leaks and Guccifer 2.0 to establish a relationship with WikiLeaks, which then released these stolen files to the public. On page 45, Mueller documents how in early July of 2016, WikiLeaks contacted the Russians privately on Twitter saying, if you have...
So again, the smoking gun, remember the smoking gun from Tulsi Gabbard? Everybody knew all this, right? We never thought that Russia changed the numbers that were tallied for votes. That wasn't a thing that we thought. That wasn't a thing that we pretended happened. That wasn't a thing that ever existed. Socially, publicly, behind the scenes with WikiLeaks, they influenced the election.
Have anything Hillary related, we want it in the next 2 days, preferable. And then on July 22nd, 3 days before the Democratic National Convention began, WikiLeaks released...
Oh, hold on. Let me, I need to make somebody a mod over here. I guess it's Suko. You weren't a mod on that channel, are you? Let me switch accounts right quick. I don't know who's mods on that channel right now. I'm just broadcasting to it to see if anybody wanders in that would hasn't seen me in forever. They'll probably hate my new take, but oh well. They'll figure it out. Add as moderator. Save. Everybody else is restream based, I think. That's all right. Let me switch my account back so it doesn't log me out of my 2100 subscriber one. We'll figure out something with both accounts eventually. All right, back to it.
More than 20,000 emails and other stolen documents. It was a clear attempt to embarrass Clinton and weaken her candidacy.
Timing is a constant theme in this report. The week after the Democratic convention, Mueller writes, candidate Trump made this controversial statement.
You guys know that one of his sons and some of his campaign staff literally met with what they believed to be a Russian spy. Someone said, I've got a Russian operative I want you to meet with. They got dirt on Hillary. And they did. They took that meeting to help their during the campaign. They took that meeting.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
Now, President Trump has repeatedly insisted this was a joke. But Mueller writes, within 5 hours of candidate Trump saying those words, the GRU targeted Clinton's personal office for the first time. Notably,
within 5 hours of his statement. Within 5 hours of his statement. There they went. You know who I really think are some of probably some of my most devoted supporters? There are people that have watched my channel for years. And even when I drank the Kool-Aid, even when I was a Trump supporter, even when I went hard and was like, fuck this, MAGA, Trump, all that, they were fucking left, right? Democrats, liberals, whatever. And they sat there, disagreed with me, kept watching the show, respectfully in the chat all the time, and they're still here today. Those people and the people that were the same as me, right? Like when I was MAGA, they were MAGA too. And they watched my change and they're like, holy shit, he's right. And they changed as well. That's crazy. I can't believe I influenced that many people. I don't know how many it is, but even if it's only like 3 or 4 people, I can't believe that I had this revelation after going through the death of my parents and shit and everything Trump did. And people are like, oh yeah, he's right. He's right. This is getting crazy. We're moving sides.
Mueller found no evidence that the campaign knew that Russians would respond, but the report showed for the first time how soon Russians acted after the president spoke.
There were other new revelations in the report as well. Mueller says the Russians directly targeted our election systems. They used cyber attacks against private technology firms that make election software, as well as officials in several states and county governments.
The question is, did the Russians' effort change or affect votes? Mueller doesn't address it, instead writing that the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and
It just takes me longer to get there, okay? I saw January 6th, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? This is crazy. This is wild. I covered it. I got banned off of DLive for covering it. But eventually I got there.
States are still investigating. One final note about this part. This Russian section is where you see some of the most heavily redacted pages in the report, much of it blocked out because of ongoing investigations.
So we've explained how Mueller documented Russia's elaborate meddling, how Russia tried to manipulate voters and
That's right, Kev.
hack election systems. Next, we look at how the special counsel details the many interactions between Russians and the Trump campaign and whether any of that added up to coordination or a conspiracy.
For more than 100 pages, Robert Mueller lays out scores
GNet told me not to trust you, Kev.
of Russian contacts with the Trump campaign or the Trump presidency. From the start, Mueller is frank about why, to see whether those contacts constituted attempted Russian interference or influence on the election, and whether these contacts resulted in coordination or conspiracy with the Trump campaign.
And Mueller's conclusion about this conspiracy comes right away. In the very next line, Mueller writes, based on the available information, the investigation did not establish such coordination. Mueller reached that conclusion, even though, he writes, there were numerous links between the campaign and the Russians that several people...
Tons of links. Even though he couldn't definitively say they were coordinating directly with Russia, there were tons. I mean, there's 30-some people got indicted for coordinating with Russia.
Well, connected to the campaign, lied to his team and tried to obstruct their investigation into their contacts with the Russians.
That's right, Steph.
Let's talk about specifics.
By the way, I do need to admit this on air. I think I put it on Telegram and I put it on Discord already. I was wrong. There you have it. It happens sometimes. Very rarely, but it does happen sometimes. I was wrong. I have this confirmed now that Bert was right. Brad was Q streaming first and then signed up Phil. I was just wrong about it. Somebody in chat was right about it too, and I was wrong.
With these contacts, starting with the Trump business and a big event in Russia. In 2013, Donald Trump takes his Miss Universe pageant to Moscow. The Mueller report points out this is how the Trumps got to know Iras Agalarov, a Russian billionaire and ally of Vladimir Putin.
Not making a joke, not being sarcastic, not being anything. Do you guys in chat think that Russia has dirt on Trump? I'm not talking about piss and hookers and all that, but do you think they have some type of dirt on Trump? Because it seems like a lot of things changed after he went to Russia and started talking to them there. He stayed there. There's some issues with some of his buildings that have to do with... There seems like there's something going on there that he does not want to make them mad at all. Even when he's like, I'm pissed off at Putin. I'm mad as hell. I told him to stop. And they're like, would you consider sanctions? He's like, that's one option we may consider later. If you're pissed off and you told him to fucking stop and they're like, sanctions, you could be like, yeah, we will consider that. We'll strongly consider that. But he's like, I don't know. That's one thing we might do maybe later. I don't know. Like, he's scared of Russia.
Putin. He owned the event hall.
I used to think it was just like hero worship, right? I used to think it was hero worship because he likes dictators. He likes people like that. But he doesn't treat like any of the other dictators. He still talks shit about them sometimes. And he doesn't really with Putin, right? He has to play up the media game like, oh, I'm really upset with him now. But I think he's scared of Russia for whatever reason. They got something on him. They know something about him, something.
Hall where the pageant was held. His son, Amin, is a pop singer who sang at the event.
Things start moving pretty quickly. Within a few months, Donald Trump Jr. signs a preliminary agreement with Agalarov's company to build a big Trump Tower property in...
Not year over here, certain.
Visits the country in 2014, scouting out possible locations. Then things seem to stall.
Until 2015.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States
In June, Mr. Trump announces his candidacy. Mueller points out that 3 months later, a new effort to build the Trump Tower in Moscow begins, this time led by Trump's lawyer Michael Cohen and developer Felix Sater.
On page 69, Mueller makes it clear that candidate Trump knew this was happening. He writes, Cohen provided...
It's strange seeing how much he used to hide this shit or not speak about it or not talk about it and bury it in paperwork. And now, like Vietnam or Bangladesh or wherever the fuck it was, is just like, oh yeah, we're going to fast track his new Trump Tower as long as he reduces the tariffs on our country.
Provided updates directly to Trump about the project throughout 2015 and into 2016. But Mueller stresses,
I think if he could have hid the third term, he might have. But I don't think he stays out of jail if he doesn't get this second term.
That publicly, candidate Trump repeatedly denies any such dealings.
I have nothing to do with Russia. I don't have any jobs in Russia. I'm all over the world, but we're not involved in Russia.
Meanwhile, Felix Sater tells Michael Cohen he's working with high-level Russian officials. He emails Cohen saying, buddy, our boy can become president of the USA and we can engineer it. I
think it's hard to understand his shame. His shame just lashes out and calls everybody else, you know, a piece of shit or worse than him or the worst ever. He's the best. But it's not like normal people's shame where you can shame them away, right? They give up. They don't talk to you anymore. They hide. They whatever. His, like, when he feels shame, he lashes out harder.
All of Putin's team to buy in on this.
The Moscow Trump Tower project is just one source of Russian contacts. Mueller outlines about a dozen of them in total. They vary widely. Campaign aide Carter Page meets with Russians and travels to Moscow to give a speech. Aide J.D. Gordon.
Oh yeah, if they had him on Epstein Island, videotaped, audio playing, him fucking a child, they'd be like, you know, there could be AI. He could come out and admit it. Yeah, that's me on tape fucking that kid. Well, you know, they say girls look older now. Like, it's fucking crazy some of his worshiping fans.
Says he pushed for a change in the Republican platform to water down tough language about Russia and Ukraine.
Would you see the way she was dressed? She shouldn't have come on to him like that.
Policy advisor Michael Flynn gives...
There was a tweet. There was a tweet the other day that everybody was talking about. I think Bug Dude might have shared it. There was a tweet that the guy said, oh, you're a 16-year-old girl being flown by a billionaire who finds you attractive to a private island to hang out with our other wealthy male billionaires. What do you think, you were going to play Monopoly? Blaming the kids for accepting the invite. Like, they knew they were going to get fucked. They knew they were going to get fucked. Why would they get on that plane? Who was it? I think Bug Dude shared it. Somebody put, it's wild what people will put out on a public Twitter account under their real name. And then he's like, I can't believe I'm getting so much heat for this. I can't believe this is going, people are so mad about this. Like, how fucking stupid. See if I can find the post. I think it was on Discord. There it is. Motherfuckers say out-of-pocket stuff. His name was Kevin Ryan, Mouth Almighty. Let's see if the tweet's still up. I hate to shortchange it. And it was about a week ago. He was getting so much hate for it, and he was trying to downplay it. Let me see. When was that dated? That was on 7/9. So let me go back on his stuff. 11 days ago. 10 days ago. The guy does comic book stuff too, which is weird because kids are probably interested in his account for comic book reasons. A-holes of the internet. Here's a good one. Here's a woman named Brandy Zarnt of Canal, Winchester, Ohio, who decided she would call me a pedo on X Twitter the other day. She said that sex with kids was okay. She said that I said that sex with kids is okay, which never happened, nor would I say that. So he's like calling people out. Some of them were MAGA that was calling him out too. Let's see if I can find the original one. Another internet asshole here is Jenny Weed. She decided I shouldn't spend hours defending myself against accusations of child abuse. I should just accept abuse myself and move on. So this is him calling out people that are calling him out. Another asshole. Here's Henry, who doesn't like me challenging anyone attacking me because I am immoral, I guess. He's got men showing their cock to Satan on his timeline. Okay. Another asshole from the internet. You know, whoever it was, the kind and compassionate leftist thought they could bully. It wasn't me. The final word on my accusations. With 100% surety, there is no truth whatsoever to any assertion that I ever am now or ever intended to harm any child whatsoever in any way. There is, in fact, no credible allegation at all that I harmed or even came in contact with any child at any time, nor any allegation that I possessed any materials related to child abuse, nor would I ever. The people making these allegations on social media are almost 100% political leftists looking to score points on the backs of minors abused at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Their profiles show them supporting a full menu of leftist ideologies ranging from no kings to pro-abortion, climate change, Antifa, BLM, and pro-war. Almost to a man, these people hide behind fake names, sock puppet accounts, and the accusations themselves contain little or no support beyond screaming the word pedo in each one, hoping if they repeat it enough times, it would be true. These people are fascists. The allegations and the people making are sick, vile, cowardly, and intellectually dishonest. Did I say the girls and women, many adults who went to Epstein Island, knew full well what they were doing in receiving drugs and cash for sexual favors? Yes, I did, and I stand by it. Have I said that Epstein and other men involved were disgusting, sick? Yes, I have. Did I also say that Epstein recruited pretty girls? Yes, I did. This is a term of common parlance, and it was true. He didn't bring them there or offer them modeling jobs because they were ugly. I was asked to clarify if the word pretty meant attractive. Well, that's what it means. Does this mean I desire my... So they're like, you said that these girls are pretty? You mean attractive? Yes. What the fuck? Does this mean that I desire minors for romantic partners or sexual activities? No. It means simply that, of course, these girls were pretty. And I'm sure even their parents said so. There's simply nothing there to raise an issue over. But this is who leftists are. They are filthy people who burn down cities, ride in the streets, fight police, and who are thoroughly anti-American. They are ruthless and will resort to any and all measures to gain political advantage or power, or just to destroy a life with the slightest of provocations. I will not be intimidated by them, and my vigor is only renewed by this reprehensible and disingenuous attack by a few hundred mentally ill cretins. Like he's defending this other take that he had already. We haven't even got to yet. Twitter is funny. I'd say about 95% of people, those attacking me in the past 24 hours, are violent leftists. Check every box. Pro-abortion, climate change, Antifa, BLM, pro-illegal, pro-war terrorists. They hide behind fake names. 90% hide behind fake names. 90% hide behind fake photos. 30% openly threaten violence. And almost 100% just make things up. You knuckle fucks are cluttering up my feed, but please keep posting. Everybody knows I basically said three things. Women are precious. Women, including girls, are pretty. Women get stupid and do stupid things and get lured by men. Most normal people understand this. That's why my account grew instead of shrunk as you leftist creeps outed yourselves here one by one. This could be my favorite daily topic. I've had enough. What I said was that women, including girls under 18, are attractive. This is what he's leading off with. This is a post in response. Listen. Kevin Ryan, Mouth Almighty on Twitter. I've had enough. What I said was that women, including girls under 18, are attractive. That does not mean that sex with anyone under 18 is appropriate. It means what I said. This is a fucking Miss Teen USA pageant. You think it's a Scholars Bowl with bikinis? This is a disingenuous attack, and he shares a Miss Kentucky picture from the pageant. All right, here's what it was. Well, I finally took notice of this tweet. Now, as I've said over and over, I don't date underage girls, never did, except when I was a teenager myself. The tweet was faked. This tweet was faked. Two posts spliced together. Reality is, TV, movies, magazines, music companies, and modeling companies all hire teenage girls to promote products. This has been true for decades and is true today. They don't do it because teen girls are ugly. The question asked of me is why grown men would try to lure young girls. The answer is clear and obvious and repulsive. Nobody seems to mind McCartney having written, she was just 17, you know what I mean. So he says, you're seriously asking that question. Then someone says, I'm asking that question as well. I want to see you answer that question, please, pretty please. And he responds and says, because teenage girls are physically attractive. That's why they are hired for television, film, and modeling. Before you think you got yourself a gotcha, you don't. This has always been true and always will be true. This guy needs to be on a watch list for sure. For sure. That quote from the Epstein victim is a load of horse shit. No one raped her. This is one of his tweets. That quote from the Epstein victim is a load of horse shit. No one raped her. She was a teenage girl who used poor judgment to go to a Caribbean island with a bunch of rich guys, sit on the beach, drink, smoke dope, and have sex. That's a reply from this guy. He says, he's responding to somebody else and says that quote from the Epstein victim, and he's got Epstein victim in quotes, says, is a load of horse shit. No one raped her. She was a teenage girl who used poor judgment to go to a Caribbean island with a bunch of rich guys, sit on the beach, drink, smoke, dope, and have sex. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Someone responded, if I didn't want to be called a pedo defender, I'd simply not post offenses of pedophilia. And then someone named Allison Ford shared an image of this and says, bear, please give me the bear, bear. Because it's, would you rather be alone in the woods with a man or a bear? Like, what the fuck? Here you go. Here's the synopsis of what happened the day he posted all this. You ready? Damn it. Stop it. Hold on. Let me expand the post. I put out a post about Jeffrey Epstein earlier today as a Trump admin seemingly closes the book on the saga of Epstein Island. I wound up having to block at least 25 accounts. I began by pointing out that if a teenage girl accepts an invitation to a private island from a billionaire, including booze and drugs for free, they aren't getting an invite to play Monopoly. I was responding to a clip of Sarah Ransom, who joined Epstein's sex games at age 22, by the way, who is now, of course, selling books about how she was raped and tortured on the Caribbean island. While she was paid, provided with drugs and booze. It's a cash grab and demeans those who were actual victims. I said, I am sick to death of hearing about Jeffrey Epstein. I mean that. What Epstein did was devious and unethical. But it's done. He's dead. What happened there is not even uncommon. 1.75 million American teenage girls become pregnant each year, not by sleeping alone, I might add. The result of this post was dozens and dozens of personal attacks towards me that I was a pedo, including several showing firearms. I didn't suggest I should be having sex with teenage girls. I suggested they do have sex. That's a fact. I also suggested they are not children, and they aren't. We let them drive and hold jobs. Old enough to drive, old enough to get a job. Apparently old enough to fuck with Kevin. The one thing nearly every account had in common, they were all leftist accounts, like good little Nazis trying to score points, not trying to protect. By the way, they weren't all leftists. So one of the ones that he called out earlier, he's like, MAGA doesn't need people like you, thinking you're policing the entire internet. What's wrong with you? So that was obviously a MAGA person. Not trying to protect anyone's virtue. It's a sickness, and they have it. As for Epstein's girls, they were stupid. There are photos taken at the time showing them not miserable and chained to the floor, but laughing and having a great time. This isn't protecting anyone. It's creating hysteria. So do you think if there's a picture of you that exists and you're smiling in it, and we find out that during this trip you were also raped, that the rape doesn't stand? I care very little, actually, about what Jeffrey Epstein did or didn't do 15 years ago on his private island with high school girls. When a billionaire asks a pretty girl to fly with him to his private island and drink and smoke, what does she think's going to happen? Tiddlywinks? And they went. No one's arm got twisted. Again, what do I care about? What I do care about is that everyone got told. The authorities had the Epstein list. They had the videos. They had the goods. Now, 3 months later, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and Dan Bongino say, oops, we got nothing. Like, what piece of shit is this, dude? Hold on. I'll share it over here. This is the one I'm reading from. And he shares a picture of Epstein and Maxwell. Again, what did they think was going to happen? Tiddlywinks? And they went. No one's arm got twisted. Does he think rape only happens at gunpoint? Someone's life's in danger? They threaten to kill him or something? What the fuck does he think, dude? Disgusting motherfucker. Anyways, back to the, we're back on the list, right? The Mueller investigation. Here we go.
And travels.
Our boy can become president of the USA, and we can engineer it. I will get all of Putin's team to buy in on this.
The Moscow Trump.
I will get all of Putin's team to buy in on this. Weird.
To 2016. But Mueller stresses that publicly, candidate Trump repeatedly denies any such dealings.
I have nothing to do with Russia. I don't have any jobs in Russia. I'm all over the world, but we're not involved in Russia.
Meanwhile, Felix Sater tells Michael Cohen he's working with high-level Russian officials. He emails Cohen saying, buddy, our boy can become president of the USA, and we can engineer it. I will get all of Putin's team to buy in on this.
The Moscow Trump Tower project is just one source.
Why would someone tell Michael Cohen, I'll get all of Putin's team to buy in on this? What does Putin have to do with Trump winning the presidency of the United States? Weird.
Of Russian contacts. Mueller outlines about a dozen of them in total. They vary widely. Campaign aide Carter Page meets with Russians and travels to Moscow to give a speech. Aide J.D. Gordon says he pushed for a change in total. They vary widely. Campaign aide Carter.
And then they're like, why did Carter Page have a wiretap? I can't believe he got a FISA warrant. Bro, he's going to Russia to give speeches about Trump becoming president and how that's good for Putin and Russia.
Page meets with Russia.
He gives a speech in Russia. He meets with Russian government agents.
And travels to Moscow to give a speech. Aide J.D. Gordon says he pushed for a change in the Republican platform to water down tough language about Russia and Ukraine. Policy advisor.
Water down the language about Russia.
Michael Flynn gives speeches in Russia and has numerous contacts with the Russian ambassador.
Michael Flynn's already didn't divulge some of his stuff with like Turkey and shit, they found out later.
Including a discussion of softening sanctions. Foreign policy and national security advisor Jeff Sessions also meets with the Russian ambassador. Campaign chairman Paul Manafort regularly shares internal polling data with
Paul Manafort was sharing their polling data, their internal campaign polling data with Russian intelligence. I know it says man tied to Russian. He knew who the guy was and knew it was Russian intelligence and knew sharing this data would help them in their job that they did on social media.
a man tied to Russian intelligence. And fellow Trump aide George Papadopoulos repeatedly meets with a different man connected to Russian intelligence who tells Papadopoulos the Russians have dirt on Hillary Clinton.
The Russians have dirt on Hillary. Oh, no.
For all of these connections, Mueller gives dates and times, often to the very minute.
Now, I personally think that foreign governments probably approach every political candidate for president. If there's a chance of you winning, you're probably approached by a foreign national, whether you know who they are or not. The problem is Trump doesn't bat an eye. It's like, hell yeah, let's use them. Send somebody to meet them. Send that guy over there. Yep, go over there. Talk to them. See what they think.
And another contact point was the infamous New York Trump Tower meeting on June 9th, 2016. That morning, Donald Trump Jr. tells colleagues he has a lead on negative information about Hillary Clinton. That lead comes from a source you might remember, the pop singer Amin Agalarov and his father, who's tied to Putin. One of their staffers pitches the meeting to Trump Jr., claiming they had dirt on Clinton. Trump Jr. responds, "If it's what you say, I love it." Mueller's report says this dirt from the Russians was the two Clinton donors had broken Russian laws and laundered money, but the Russian representative can't directly tie that to Clinton campaign funds. The Trump Tower meeting ends with Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, calling it a waste of time.
On page 100.
But they thought they were meeting a Russian agent about dirt on Hillary. Even though it didn't come to fruition, that's what they thought they were doing.
85, the report says the special counsel considered whether to charge Trump campaign officials with crimes in connection with the June 9th meeting. But they decide no, for two reasons. First, Mueller can't prove that Trump's team knew they were acting illegally. It is against the law to take political contributions from foreign nationals. And two, the value of the information may have been too low to prosecute.
This brings
So if they would have got good information, valid information, easily prosecute it. Because the information didn't end up helping them that much, hard to prosecute.
us back to Mueller's main conclusion in this part of the report, that despite these varied contexts, the evidence was
That's crazy, Marita.
that the Trump campaign coordinated or conspired with Russia. Mueller notes that collusion is not a specific offense, that the actual crimes are conspiracy or coordination.
One more thing. Mueller points out investigators couldn't get all the information they wanted. Donald Trump Jr. never agreed to an interview. The same with several key Russians. Some witnesses lied to investigators initially. Some campaign aides deleted their texts. And
Tucker Carlson's interview yesterday gave a great look into who Epstein is. Check it out on X. I'm good. Thank you.
Mueller states the
Trump and Epstein were best friends. So maybe I'm out of my fucking mind, but they were best friends for decades.
president's written answers were inadequate. Mueller specifically says it's possible this missing information could shed new light on the investigation. Okay, so we've looked at the details of Volume 1 of the Mueller report about Russian interference and interaction with the Trump campaign. Now let's turn to Volume 2 and how the special counsel investigated alleged obstruction of justice by President Trump.
Oh, I saw your post. Have you seen 15-year-olds nowadays? Yeah, that's what it screams, that Kevin guy, just like fucking Nick.
How did Mueller view President Trump's firing of FBI Director James?
Isn't it weird that Nick and Phil hate each other, go against each other? They're suing each other in Pennsylvania court. And they both end up neighbors on an island in Hawaii. The same island?
James Comey. And what prompted Mr. Trump to take that step?
Did President Trump commit obstruction of justice? That's the question that takes up the final roughly 200 pages of Robert Mueller's report. Mueller made headlines saying this about the president's actions.
If we had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so. We did not, however, make a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime.
That conclusion, with no conclusion on whether the president is guilty or innocent, is where Mueller starts this part of the report. He explains his lack of action by invoking an overriding question. Can a sitting president be indicted? On page 1, his answer is no. Mueller points to Justice Department policy that the indictment or criminal prosecution of a sitting president would undermine the capacity of the executive branch to perform its constitutionally assigned functions.
Under long-standing department policy, a president cannot be charged with a federal crime.
I think Mueller did probably the best thing he could with what he had available. I don't know. You know, I'm not in his shoes. I didn't get to see the evidence. I didn't do the investigation. I think he was trying to be as unbiased as he can. But he was catching hate from everybody. The Trump people hated him. The Democrats said he took too long and hated him. Some of the Trump people said that he was actually exposing the fake Russian investigation and he was going to expose Hillary and Obama and then. Like, everybody fucking hated him.
While he is in office. That is unconstitutional. Even if the charge is kept under seal and hidden from public view, that too is prohibited.
So then why investigate? The report states that a president can be indicted after leaving office. In his report, the special counsel is thinking of the future, writing, "We conducted a thorough factual investigation in order to preserve the evidence when memories were fresh and documentary materials were available."
Mueller says the job of
preserve that for later. He probably should have been prosecuted after he left office.
Assessing whether a sitting president broke the law and what to do about it belongs to Congress.
To be fair, he should have been impeached. I think they knew that they had a very volatile situation on their hands and potentially coming to shots fired, right? He should have been impeached.
So as Mueller does in this section of the report, let's move on to the case for and against obstruction.
The report sees the president's actions in two phases, before and after one key event, the firing of FBI Director James Comey.
So let's look at how the report examines Comey's.
Chinga la migra.
Mueller makes the case that the president repeatedly wanted assurance that Comey was the president's ally, and he didn't get it. At a private dinner with Comey, the FBI director says the president asks for his loyalty. In February, the president clears out the Oval Office.
That's got to be a bot. Glory to Russia. That's got to be a fucking bot.
To be alone with Comey and asks him to let go of the investigation into Michael Flynn, the former national security advisor. Mueller's report states Comey felt these were direct orders from the president.
Tension builds quickly.
I have been authorized by the Department of Justice.
On March 20th, 2017, Comey publicly tells Congress that the...
He basically cornered Comey a few different times, right? A few different times. And was like, I need to know you're in this with me. I need to know I got your loyalty, man. We're in this together, right?
FBI is investigating Russian attacks on the election and any links to the Trump campaign. The Mueller report shows the president immediately starts contacting or relaying messages to the acting attorney general, intelligence officials, and repeatedly to Comey himself, asking for public declarations that the president is not under investigation. On May 3rd,
we need you to come out and say I'm not under investigation. Hurry, hurry, hurry.
Comey testifies before Congress and does not say what the president wants.
The president fires Comey 6 days.
Isn't it weird that now we can look back and see people in positions of power under Trump not just repeating exactly what he told them to say and avoiding questions, lying, and they all come in and say the exact... Now, when we have people come in front of Congress, they literally just repeat the exact same thing. Don't want to answer a question? They don't. They repeat the line Trump gave them.
Days later. On page 70, Mueller writes that on the night of Comey's firing, the White House wanted to put out a statement saying it was acting Attorney General Rod Rosenstein's idea to fire Comey. But Rosenstein said he would not participate in...
This right here, as little as it seems, this right here should be enough for Trump supporters to be like, what the fuck? So Trump fired him, but didn't want to say he fired him. He asked Rod Rosenstein if he would put out a memo saying that he fired him, and Rod Rosenstein's like, I'm not fucking lying. Are you crazy? You fired him. Just say you fired him.
Putting out a false story.
That same week, the president says this to Lester Holt of NBC News.
And in fact, when I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
Now, many held that interview as a clear admission that
this Russia thing with Trump and Russia. You guys know I'm a big Russia. This Russia thing. Don't forget about the Russia. God damn, dude. Like a child. Like a fucking toddler, dude. I'm the leading pass rusher.
The president fired Comey to obstruct the Russia investigation. But Mueller's report says the full NBC interview actually showed the opposite. On page 74, the president stated that he understood when he made the decision to fire Comey that the action might prolong the investigation.
Mueller's report concludes that the evidence does not establish that the termination of Comey was designed to cover up a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia. Mueller says there's substantial evidence that the catalyst, the thing that pushed the president to do it, was Comey's unwillingness to tell the public that the president was not under investigation.
But of course, Comey...
But he was. He was. That's what the Mueller investigation was. But he wanted Comey to come say that, and Comey didn't, so 6 days later, gone. Out of there.
Comey's firing led directly to the appointment of the special counsel and an investigation of the president.
But when it came to possible obstruction of justice, Special Counsel Robert Mueller wasn't just looking at the firing of James Comey. We look now at the other actions by the president that Mueller investigated and whether those could be considered obstruction.
Special Counsel Robert Mueller investigated some 10 different acts by the president for potential obstruction of justice. Some of these overlap.
In each instance, Mueller lays out three things: what the president did, what may have been obstructed by those actions, and what the president's intent.
By the way, there is this is a 30-minute video about what was in it, what happened. There are videos that go over this hours long. They get into the minutia of it. I just didn't think I'd keep people's attention that long on the live stream. So this is a 30-minute video, but they're skipping over a lot.
Was. Mueller's conclusions range from a clear no evidence of obstruction to cases with substantial evidence. Those cases, those with the most evidence, center on the president's attempts to fire or limit special counsel Mueller himself.
The report begins this segment with an eye-popping statement. Page 77, Mueller writes, the acting attorney general appointed a special counsel on May 17, 2017, prompting the president to state that it was the end of his presidency.
Why would he say that? The acting attorney general appointed a special counsel on May 17th, and the president tells people, this is the end of my presidency. This is it. We're done. We're over.
Mueller recounts a scene in the Oval Office that day where Attorney General Jeff Sessions tells the president that Mueller's been appointed, and the president says, oh my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm top aide.
No wonder he fucking feels invincible right now. He should have been impeached. That is written in the Mueller report with witnesses. Oh my God, this is so bad. This is the end of my presidency. I'm fucked.
Jeff Sessions tells the president that Mueller's been appointed, and the president says, oh my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm Top aide Hope Hicks testifies later that she had only seen the president like that one other time when the Access Hollywood tape came out during the campaign.
The next day, the president was asked about the special counsel appointment.
Well, I respect the move, but the entire thing has been a witch hunt, and there is no collusion between certainly myself.
And his followers love this. You remember Russia. What a hoax. What a witch hunt. 34 fucking indictments. A hoax? A witch hunt? You said you were fucked. And it would be the end of your presidency. You should have been. Again, Mueller says, hey, we can't indict a sitting president. I'm preserving this evidence for the future. And the fucking cowards in Washington can't find the goddamn backbone to impeach your ass. Could you imagine how much different it would be? Probably a lot better. I mean, you know, you can't play the what if game. If he had been impeached, Mike Pence takes over the presidency and finishes out his term and does whatever.
Self and my campaign, but I can always speak for myself and the Russians, zero.
But privately, the report says, the president undermined the special counsel's credibility. Page 80, the president repeatedly told advisors that special counsel Mueller had conflicts of interest. But the report says top aide Stephen Bannon and other key staff disagreed, telling the president they were not true conflicts and even ridiculous.
According to the report, what happens next is critical. June 14th.
Trump thinks everything is a conflict. Remember when he said that a Mexican judge or a judge that his parents were Mexican couldn't rule on his immigration policy?
The Washington Post reveals that the president is under investigation for obstruction of justice. According to Mueller, 3 days later, President Trump tells White House counsel Don McGahn to call acting Attorney General Rod Rosenstein to say Mueller has conflicts and can't serve anymore. The president says Mueller has to go. McGahn does not comply.
Now, this is all based...
Hold on. Mueller has to go and call me back when you do it. When President called McGahn a second time to follow up on the order to call the Department of Justice, McGahn recalled that the president was more direct, saying something like, tell Rod that Mueller has conflicts and can't be special counselor. McGahn called the president telling him, the president telling him, Mueller has to go and call me back when you do it. McGahn understood the president to be saying the special counsel had to be removed by Rod Rosenstein. To end the conversation with the president, Mr. McGahn left the president with something impression that McGahn would call Rod Rosenstein. McGahn recalled that he had already said something the president's request, and he was worn down, so he just wanted to get off the phone. Just telling him, like, I'll call him, I'll tell him, just to get off the fucking phone with him.
Now, this is all based on McGahn's testimony. Mueller points out the president publicly disputes much of it. But in the end, Mueller finds McGahn highly credible, reporting that he reacted strongly to the president's words. Mueller writes, McGahn packed up his office, prepared to submit a resignation letter, and told Chief of Staff Reince Priebus the president had asked him to do crazy.
Another serious charge about the president is that he tried to block Mueller from investigating him or his campaign. On June 19th, 2017, President Trump asks his former campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, to take a note to Attorney General Jeff Sessions, directing Sessions to say publicly, I am going to meet with the special prosecutor and let the special prosecutor move forward with investigating election meddling for future elections. Meaning, Robert Mueller would not investigate what happened in the 2016 election.
Lewandowski never passed on that message. These acts taken together prompted some of Mueller's strongest language in the report.
And people are like, well, Both sides are bad. They're two wings of the same bird. Where? Who? Who is like Trump? Who has done every fucking thing Trump has? Who has tried to subvert the fucking election? Who has called a mob to storm the goddamn Capitol while they're counting the votes? Who? I'll wait. You know, one of the tenets of fascism is what he does to Joe Biden. He will simultaneously label him this insane mastermind that put all this together, destroyed the country, these plans because he wanted to destroy it, and he wanted all these Mexicans in to get all these votes, and also debilitated, right? He can't move. He was like a potato. His brain is mush. He just sits there and drools.
On page 89, he writes, substantial evidence indicates the attempts to remove the special counsel were linked to investigations of the president's conduct. Page 97, substantial evidence indicates that the president's effort to limit the special counsel's investigation was intended to prevent further scrutiny of the president's and his campaign's conduct.
Now, we realize this is a lot, but with regards to other actions by the president, Robert Mueller found much less and sometimes no evidence of obstruction. Take Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
Therefore, I have recused myself.
Months earlier, he'd recused himself from overseeing this Russia probe because of his own undisclosed contacts with the Russian ambassador. The president repeatedly pressured Sessions to unrecuse himself and retake control of the investigation. But Mueller finds only a reasonable inference, not specific evidence, that this was meant to protect the president.
Next, Michael Flynn and Paul Manafort. Mueller investigated whether Mr. Trump floated potential presidential pardons for them in order to influence their testimony or cooperation.
I think he did.
With the special counsel. Mueller writes, the evidence regarding Flynn is inconclusive. But with Manafort, the evidence indicates Mr. Trump wanted Manafort to believe a pardon was possible.
And finally, Michael Cohen. Mueller looks at whether the president directed him.
Right. Both extremely strong and extremely weak at the same time. Like, he's so weak, nobody would ever legitimately want him to be in charge, and he made all these mistakes, blah, blah, but he's also this super strong guy that destroyed everything because he wants you to live in poverty, and he hates you, and he wants to see you suffer. He hates America.
Lawyer to lie to Congress about plans to build a Trump Tower in Moscow. The report says, while there is evidence the president knew that Cohen has made false statements, Mueller also writes, the evidence does not establish that the president directed or aided Cohen's false testimony. So we've gone through the report by Special Counsel Robert Mueller and tried to highlight its key findings. Let's take a step back now and finish with a look at the investigation in its entirety.
The Mueller report is unique in American history. At times, it reads like a novel, even a thriller. At other times, it is dense legal opinion.
So what did it find? First, that the Russians attacked the 2016 election. The Mueller report is loaded with examples of how Russian operatives launched what they call information warfare on the U.S. They wanted to distract and inflame voters to benefit Donald Trump's candidacy and to...
That was the biggest thing they did, and it was a proof of concept, right? A lot of people think it would be easy to influence like a Myanmar election or a fucking election in Colombia or something, but to use social media to potentially, allegedly, change the outcome of an election through social media and a few $1,000s worth of ads and some bot farms, right? That's a big fucking deal. And don't think they will ever stop, right? Fucking Facebook and X and all those people, this go around, loosened their restrictions on political content, where it's from, who paid for it, their home country, all those, like, what the fuck?
Dense legal opinion.
So what did it find? First, that the Russians attacked the 2016 election. The Mueller report is loaded with examples of how Russian operatives launched what they call information warfare on the U.S. They wanted to distract and inflame voters to benefit Donald Trump's candidacy and to damage Hillary Clinton's.
And while Mueller shows the Trump campaign worked with individual Russians, he found the evidence did not show any conspiracy or coordination by the Trump campaign.
There was no collusion with Russia. There was no obstruction.
And he just says that, and his followers repeat it. There 100% was collusion with Russia. There was obstruction.
And none whatsoever.
That's been the president's mantra ever since Mueller's report came out. And like Lisa said, on the collusion conspiracy issue, the president is right. The Mueller report does not establish any such wrongdoing. But on the issue of obstruction, Mueller does not agree with the president.
To Mueller, obstruction is a crime of paramount importance. He went out of his way to say this in public.
When a subject of an investigation obstructs that investigation or lies to investigators, it strikes...
I think the Durham report probably took so long because Trump was heavily pressuring him. He wanted people to go to jail, whether they committed a crime or not. He wanted these big things where like a congressman or a fucking reporter or a secret agent or going and like it was a big fucking nothing burger, right?
At the core of the government's effort to find the truth and hold wrongdoers accountable.
Mueller's report lays out a long string of examples where it finds evidence.
Even Durham said when Durham was responding to Republicans who were like, I thought we was going to arrest all these people and round them up. They did this, they did that, and it was horrible. And they were trying to get Trump. Even Durham said not every injustice or transgression amounts to a criminal offense, right? There just wasn't much there.
Sometimes substantial evidence that the president tried to obstruct justice.
For example, the president asked FBI Director James Comey to let go of one investigation.
I hope you can let this go, he said in the goddamn Oval Office to James Comey when they were talking about a potential investigation. I hope you can let this go.
He told his White House counsel, Don McGahn, that Mueller has to go, and later told him to lie and deny that conversation ever happened. In other cases, Mueller says what seems like suspicious activity was not obstruction, like when President Trump tried to bury emails showing how his son welcomed a meeting with Russians who were offering dirt on Hillary Clinton. Mueller concludes that didn't affect the investigation.
Overall, Mueller writes, the evidence does point to a range of personal motives animating the president's conduct. Those include concerns the investigation would call into question the legitimacy of his election and whether certain events could be seen as criminal.
That's why he was so far ahead of it. That's why the day it was announced, it was a witch hunt. Oh, the Democrats make this up, and they scream Russia, 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 and they've been trying this for years. They don't want me to win. They don't want to admit they had a bad candidate. And blah, blah. That's why he tried to get ahead of it. So, and which he's good at with his base. Even me at the time, like when I supported Trump, but now I'm like, what the things that he's saying does not match with reality. And half the time, it doesn't even make sense. There was no collusion. There was no obstruction. People were charged, dude, with colluding and obstruction.
Activity by the president, his campaign, or family.
But despite that, Mueller decided not to indict the president. The reason, he said, is a Justice Department opinion issued during the Watergate scandal. It says that a sitting president cannot be indicted. This is internal agency policy from 1973, not a law or court ruling. Because of this policy, on the issue of obstruction, Mueller put his conclusion this way.
If we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have.
They had false statements, conspiracy against the United States, false statements, assisting in the preparation of false tax returns, subscribing to false tax returns, filing a false amended return, failure to report foreign bank and financial accounts, bank fraud, conspiracy, and bank fraud, conspiracy against the United States, conspiracy to obstruct justice. There's your obstruction right there for Paul Manafort. 18 counts of filing false tax returns, failure to report foreign bank and financial accounts, bank fraud conspiracy, bank fraud, false statements, identity fraud, false statements, 8 counts, conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to commit wire fraud and bank fraud and aggravated identity theft. 7 counts, conspiracy to defraud the United States and aggravated identity theft. 1 count, conspiracy to defraud the United States. 1 count, conspiracy to defraud the United States. 2 counts, obstruction of justice and conspiracy to obstruct justice. 10 counts, conspiracy to commit an offense against the United States. Aggravated identity theft 8 times. And conspiracy to launder money. 11 counts, conspiracy to commit an offense against the United States. 2 counts, aggravated identity theft. 8 counts, conspiracy to launder money. 1 count, conspiracy to commit an offense against the United States. 1 count, false statements. 7 counts, obstruction of proceeding, false statements times 5, and witness tampering. That's Roger Stone. Like, holy fuck. These are the charges that came just from the Mueller report.
Have said so. We did not, however, make a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime.
Mueller seems to understand.
Yeah, so my problem is with Trump's lies is even though I was backing off my public support of Trump and like really thinking things through since January 6th, I could not pretend to believe his lies anymore because what he would say, the grifters I was covering would say. And then I'd have to research, and because like Phil said it, I'd have to research to see if it was true, and it never was. But they got it directly from fucking Trump. Like, what the fuck about all the election integrity and this machine and the suitcases full of ballots? None of that was true. None of that was fucking true. And if he's saying it, I get Phil says it. I get Brad Barton says it. I get Patriot Street Fighter Scott McKay says it. but I can't ignore that the fucking president is the one who's saying it so they can repeat it.
And this is not a satisfying conclusion for anyone.
Obstruction, Mueller will not be indicted. This is internal agency policy from 1973, not a law or
not a law, not standing, not anything to do with it. It's just internal policy until the Supreme Court comes along, of course.
Court ruling. Because of this policy on the issue of obstruction, Mueller put his conclusion this way.
If we had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so. We did not, however.
Again, that was the most damning statement, basically. And when you ask his supporters about this, they're like, what does that mean? I don't know. That doesn't mean anything. Just because you can't prove a negative. He says, if we had conclusive evidence that the president did not commit a crime, we would be telling you, we concluded that the president did not commit a crime. We're not saying that.
We're making a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime.
Mueller seems to understand this is not a satisfying conclusion for anyone, saying the case raises difficult issues. But he writes, U.S. law rests on the fundamental principle that no person in this country is so high that he is above the law. On the question of what to do now, Mueller points to Congress.
The Constitution requires a process other than the criminal justice system to formally accuse a sitting president of wrongdoing.
He even tells them to impeach him. He says, the sitting president, wrongdoing, there's a process laid out in the Constitution. Hello?
The Constitution requires a process other than the criminal justice system to formally accuse a sitting president of wrongdoing.
Cambridge Analytica was bad. Black Mirror, scary shit, Billy. You're right. It was fucking terrifying. By the way, support the show at coldbeer.fund if you guys want to. Coldbeer.fund. There's a bunch of donation links there. That's how I pay the bills around here. Like, what's his name said when he was in here earlier, cunt. This is how I pay the bills. This is how I pay for everything around here and keep the show going. So if you want to support the show, coldbeer.fund. That's this website, and these are all links where you can donate. But Cambridge Analytica was scary. The way they were able to target people, the way they were able to look people up, the things they were able to do, terrifying.
He's talking, of course, about the impeachment process. This is why the stakes are so high with this investigation. But the report, written as a legal document, is tough to absorb.
Mueller actually writes that he wants to help readers. He does this in the appendix with a glossary of 211 people and entities mentioned in the report, as well as the president's full written answers to Mueller's questions. Both are worth checking out.
Okay, so what did this investigation produce? Mueller lists all of the court cases triggered by his probe. So far, a total of 34 people have been indicted. The vast majority of those are Russian nationals. But the investigation also led to a 3-year prison sentence for Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, on fraud and campaign finance violations. Former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort is serving 7.5 years on charges unrelated to the campaign. Manafort's deputy, Rick Gates, and former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn both pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI and have yet to be sentenced.
Meanwhile, another big case is heading to trial. Trump confidant Roger Stone is charged by Mueller with obstruction and lying to Congress about his contacts with
Oh, what happened to Roger Stone?
WikiLeaks and the
He's probably still in jail, isn't he?
release of Democratic documents stolen by the Russians.
And there are more than a dozen other ongoing cases Mueller cites, but those are fully redacted and we just don't know who or what is involved. The report leaves open its most wrenching and difficult question, whether the president himself broke the law.
The report's final conclusion is that single, complicated paragraph you may have heard before. It reads in part, if we had confidence after a thorough investigation of the facts that the president clearly did not commit obstruction of justice, we would so state. Based on the facts and the applicable legal standards, we are unable to reach that judgment. Accordingly, while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Mueller so far has spoken publicly for just 9 minutes about this report.
No question.
He indicated he wants to leave the stage and return to private life. Whatever Mueller's future, his report remains a challenge for America's leaders on all sides.
We did our best, but obviously this was a 448-page report with a lot of detail. So we thank you for watching.
Again, a lot still left out.
Look for yourself. The full Mueller report is on our website.
There are, sentence commuted. Right, he's out. Right, they had the big party and press conference and shit. Robbie Roadsteamer showed up there, so they left a lot out. But that was still a 30-minute rundown, which I made a lot longer stopping and talking. But here's like, if you've never read Trump's answers, here's what the questions and answers are laid out. By the way, he would only communicate through written correspondence. Okay, but here it is. A. So these are the questions. A. When did you first learn that Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, or Jared Kushner was considering participating in a meeting in June 2016 concerning potential negative information about Hillary Clinton? Describe who you learned the information from and the substance of that discussion. B. Attached to this document as Exhibit A is a series of emails from June 2016 between among others, Donald Trump Jr. and Rob Goldstone. In addition to the emails reflected in Exhibit A, Donald Trump Jr. had other communications with Rob Goldstone and Emin Agalarov between June 3rd, 2016 and June 9th, 2016. Did Mr. Trump Jr. or anyone else tell you about or show you any of these communications? If yes, describe who discussed the communications with you, when, and the substance of the discussions. When did you first see or learn about any part of the emails reflected in Exhibit A? When did you first learn that that proposed meeting involved or was described as being part of Russia and its government support for your candidacy? Did you suggest or direct anyone not to discuss or release publicly all or portion of the emails reflected in Exhibit A? If yes, describe who you communicated with, when, the substance of the communications, and why you took that action. C. We're going to get an answer in a second. Hold on. It's just this ABC part. On June 9, 2016, Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, and Jared Kushner attended a meeting at Trump Tower with several individuals, including a Russian lawyer, Natalie Veselnitkaya, the June 9th meeting. Other than as set forth in your answers to A and B, what, if anything, were you told about the possibility of this meeting taking place or the scheduling of such a meeting? Describe who you discussed it with, when, and what you were informed about the meeting. When did you learn that some of the individuals attending the June 9th meeting were Russian or had an affiliation with any part of the Russian government? Describe who you learned this information from and the substance of those discussions. What were you told about what was discussed at the June 9th meeting? Describe each conversation in which you were told about what was discussed at the meeting, who the conversation was with, when it occurred, and the substance of the statements they made about the meeting. Were you told that the June 9th meeting was about were you told that the June 9th meeting was about, in whole or in part, adoption and or the Magnitsky Act? If yes, describe who you had that discussion with, when, and the substance of that discussion. So this is all about that meeting that his son took with Russian government officials, agents. The lawyer was actually a special agent with Russia, like KGB. And who you talked to about it. When did you know? The emails about it. Did you know when, who, why, and where? The actual meeting before it was set up, and then when the meeting took place. That's all questions about it. Now, again, Trump would only respond through written correspondence. Why? Why? Because he had to sit down with a lawyer so he didn't incriminate himself. If he would have been sitting there with Mueller answering these, no goddamn way he would have survived any of this. All right, here's his answer. Response to question 1, parts A through C. I have no recollection of learning at the time that Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, or Jared Kushner was considering participating in a meeting in June 2016 concerning potentially negative information about Hillary Clinton. Nor do I recall learning during the campaign that the June 9th, 2016 meeting had taken place, that the referenced emails existed, or that Donald Trump Jr. had other communications with Robert Goldstone or Emin Agalarov between June 3rd, 2016 and June 9th, 2016. That's his whole fucking answer, dude. That's his whole fucking answer. He was terrified to meet with him. Was it, hold on. He commuted the sentence and granted him clemency, even though it was listed as presidential pardon. Convicted, blah, 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 United States. presently confined. Whereas it has been made to appear that the ends of justice do not require that the said Roger Jason Stone Jr. to remain confined to his home or serve the said sentence, and that the safety of the community will not be compromised if he is released from home confinement and clemency is granted. Therefore, be it known that Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, in consideration of the premises and other good reasons, other good and sufficient reasons, me thereunto moving, do hereby grant clemency to said Roger Jason Stone. I commute the entirety of the prison sentence imposed upon Roger Jason Stone Jr. to expire immediately. I also commute the entirety of the 2-year term of supervised release with all its conditions. And finally, I remit any unpaid remainder of the $20,000 fine imposed. I hereby designate, direct, and empower the acting pardon attorney as my representative to deliver to the United States District Court for the District of Columbia and to the said Roger Jason Stone Jr. a certified copy of this document as evidence of my action in order to carry into effect the terms of this grant. I also direct the pretrial services officer upon receipt of this warrant to effectively release the said Roger Jason Stone Jr. from supervision and all conditions imposed, including home confinement, with all possible speed. So it was commuted, right? Insane. Here's one. For the period of June 6, 2016 through June 9, 2016, for what portion of each day were you in Trump Tower? By the way, there's no fucking way he didn't know that 2 of his sons met with Russians that claimed they had dirt on Hillary. And then it turned out that it wasn't that big a deal, but there was a KGB agent there. There's no fucking way that he didn't hear about that. All the way up until the Mueller investigation, there's no fucking way. For the period of June 6, 2016, June 9, 2016, for what portion of each day were you in Trump Tower? Did you speak or meet with Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, or Jared Kushner on June 9, 2016, the day of the meeting? If yes, did any portion of those conversations or meetings include any reference to any aspect of the June 9th meeting? If yes, describe who you spoke with and the substance of that conversation. So again, we know you were in Trump Tower that day. Please tell us how often you were in Trump Tower 3 days before and the day of. And did you not run into any of these people and they didn't tell you they had a meeting today with the fucking KGB? Here we go. George Santos does seem like a little pissy bitch. He was trying to suck some dick for Trump, right, to get a pardon or clemency or something. And then he goes on a Tucker Carlson podcast and like cries and says that he thinks he's going to die in jail. I'll probably be killed. I'm not cut out for this. All right, Trump's answer. Response to question 1, part D. I have no independent recollection of what portion of these 4 days in June of 2016 I spent in Trump Tower. This was one of many busy... By the way, this isn't true. This would be true for me. Like, how many hours do you think you were home versus the office on, a day a few years ago? Donald Trump has somebody with him documenting all of this when he's on campaign. Not to mention the portions of it that are fucking recorded. He has itineraries. Those itineraries are updated. Like, we missed this meeting, we weren't there, we didn't make it here, we missed this flight. Those are updated, and that shit's all kept together. He knows all he had to do was go look. And he could tell you how many fucking hours he was at Trump Tower, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Anyways, he has no recollection. This was one of many busy months during a fast-paced campaign as the primary season was ending and we were preparing for the general election campaign. I am now aware that my campaign's calendar indicates that I was in New York City from June 6th through 9th, 2016. Calendars kept in my Trump Tower office reflect that I had various calls and meetings scheduled for each of these days. While those calls and meetings may or may not actually have taken place, they do indicate that I was in Trump Tower during a portion of each of these working days. And I have no reason to doubt that I was. When I was in New York City, I stayed at my Trump Tower apartment. My Trump Organization desk calendar also reflects that I was outside of Trump Tower during a portion of these days. The June 7, 2016 calendar indicates that I was scheduled to leave Trump Tower in the early evening for Westchester, where I gave remarks after winning the California, New Jersey, New Mexico, Montana, and South Dakota Republican primaries held that day. The June 8, 2016 calendar indicates a scheduled departure in the late afternoon to attend a ceremony at my son's school. The June 9, 2016 calendar indicates I was scheduled to attend midday meetings and a fundraising luncheon at the Four Seasons Hotel. At this point, I do not remember on what dates these events occurred, but I do not currently have a reason to doubt that they took place as scheduled on my calendar. Widely available media reports include television footage, also shed light on my activities during these days. For example, I'm aware that my June 7, 2016 victory remarks at the Trump National Golf Course in Briarcliff Manor, New York, were recorded and published by the media. I remember winning those primaries and generally recall delivering remarks that evening. At this point in time, I do not remember whether I spoke or met with Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, or Jared Kushner on June 9th, 2016. My desk calendar indicates I was scheduled to meet with Paul Manafort on that morning of June 9th. Why would you meet with him on the morning of June 9th? But whatever. But I do not recall if that meeting ever took place. It was more than 2 years ago at a time when I had many calls and interactions daily. You really forgot what happened leading up to the KGB meeting, Don? Like, he just sidesteps every fucking question. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't know anything. He was winning the election. Things were moving so fast. He can't be bothered to even know his son's meeting with a KGB agent on dirt for Hillary Clinton. Why did you hide the emails? Well, you know, that was just clerical error. Like, it's so fucking stupid. I'm going to give a major speech probably on Monday of next week, and we're going to be discussing all the things that have taken place with the Clintons. Why did you make that statement? What information did you plan to share with the Clintons? What did you believe the source of that information would be? Did you expect any of that information to have come from the June 9th meeting? Did anyone help draft that speech you were referring to? If so, who? Why did you ultimately not give the speech you referenced on June 7th? So 2 days before the meeting, he says, in the coming week, probably on Monday, I'm going to give a speech about all the dirty things the Clintons have done. 2 days before the meeting where they're supposed to be getting dirt on Clintons. I'm going to give a speech probably Monday about all the dirty things they've done. What were you talking about, bro? In general, I expect to give a speech referencing the publicly available negative information about the Clintons, including, and then he cancels it, by the way. For example, Ms. Clinton failed policies the Clintons used of the State Department to further their interests and interest of the Clinton Foundation. Ms. Clinton's improper use of private server for State Department business and destruction of 33,000 emails on that server, and Ms. Clinton's temperamental unsuitability for the office of president. In the course of preparing to respond to your questions, I have become aware that the campaign documents already produced to reflect the drafting, evolution, and sources of information for that speech I expected to give probably on the Monday following my June 7, 2016 comments. He's so dumb, he doesn't even know that he told on himself there. Right? It's like a child. When you tell a child that it's like a surprise birthday party, and they go to the person, their mother, whoever this party's for, and they're like, well, don't be surprised if, we celebrate tomorrow at 5 p.m. He's claiming that the reason he didn't give the speech was because the Pulse nightclub shooting happened on June 12th. The Pulse nightclub shooting. Trying to see. I thought there was one about the emails. WikiLeaks, Guccifer 2.0, DC Leaks. Communications during the campaign, directly and indirectly, between Roger Stone, Donald Trump Jr., Paul Manafort, or Rick Gates, and WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, or other representatives. I do not recall being aware of anything, of course. On July 27, 2016, you stated at a press conference, Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press. Why did you make the request to Russia as opposed to any other country, entity, or individual? In advance of making that statement, to what discussions, if any, did you have with anyone else about the substance of that statement? Were you told at any time before or after you made that statement that Russia was attempting to infiltrate or hack computer systems, email accounts of Hillary Clinton and her campaign? If yes, describe who provided this information, when, and what you were told. I made a statement quoted in question 2D in jest and sarcastically, as was apparent to any objective observer. The context of the statement is evident in the full reading or viewing of the July 27, 2016 press conference, and I refer you to the publicly available transcript and video of that press conference. I do not recall having any discussion about the substance of the statement in advance of the press conference. I do not recall being told during the campaign of any efforts by Russia to infiltrate or hack the computer systems or email accounts of Hillary Clinton or her campaign prior to them becoming the subject of media reporting, and I have no recollection of any particular conversation in that regard. Of course not. It's just everything he doesn't understand, he doesn't remember, he doesn't believe it. He was made aware through the investigation of the news or something. He had no idea. He was just oblivious to everything that his kids were doing and everybody around him was doing. Everybody they were talking to, everybody they were making deals with, everything. Michael Cohen suggested to me the possibility of a Trump organization project in Moscow. As I recall, Mr. Cohen described it as a proposed project, a general type that we have done in the past in a variety of locations. I signed a non-binding letter of intent attached to your questions as Exhibit B, which required no equity or expenditure on our end and was consistent with our ongoing efforts to expand into significant markets around the world. I had a few conversations with Cohen on this subject. As I recall, they were brief and they were not memorable. I was not enthused about the proposal, and I do not recall any discussion to travel to Russia in connection with it. I do not remember discussing it with anyone else at the Trump organization, although it is possible. I do not recall being aware at the time of any communication between Mr. Cohen and Felix Sater or any Russian government official regarding the letter of intent. In the course of preparing to respond to your questions, I have become aware that Mr. Cohen sent an email regarding the letter of intent to Mr. Peskov at general public email account, which should show there was no meaningful relationship with people in power in Russia. I understand those documents already have been provided to you. I vaguely remember press inquiries and media reporting during the campaign about whether the Trump organization has business dealings in Russia. I may have spoken with campaign staff or Trump organization employees regarding responses to requests for information, but I have no current recollection. By the way, this whole time he was saying he had nothing to do with Russia, no business there, no interest there, no nothing. No recollection of any particular conversation with whom I may have spoken, when or whether substance of any conversation. As I recall, neither I nor the Trump organization had any projects or proposed projects in Russia during the campaign other than that letter of intent. I don't know. It's all bullshit, dude. He should have been impeached. Pence should have been president. January 6th should have never fucking happened. We're on the wrong goddamn timeline. But those spineless fucking pieces of shit in Congress couldn't gather the fucking gumption to say, yeah, he fucked up. He fucked up a lot. We'll still retain the White House. It just won't be Trump. That's what they should have fucking done. But they're fucking pussies. All right, guys, it's 1 a.m. here. I'm out. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being here. I'll try to be on earlier tomorrow. Hopefully, we've had like these horrible storms that roll in at like 8 p.m. every night. And then again at like fucking 9, 10 p.m. and knock power out and everything. So I'll see what I can do. Support the show while you can offline so Cunt can brag about how much money he's got that no one else has. And I can keep paying the bills around here. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. We'll see you about the next one. Have a good night. I'm going to decide what to do with that other YouTube channel. We'll figure something out. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being here. See you on the next one. Love you. See you. Bye. Support the show, you bums. You bum.
This about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the...
Makes me feel like a real New Yorker to call somebody a bum.
By name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the...
I wanted to keep this concise just on the Mueller stuff because the way Tulsi's trying to spin it now, you know what I mean? Like, the smoking gun. Obama made it all up.
It's about to get lit, get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit, get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like four in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle.
Thanks, Kev.
You ain't seen none yet.
Thanks for joining us.
I think I started some shit. Piss him off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the bets.
The power of Christ compels you to give little Bert a little kiss.
I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped them to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Hold on.
Good night, guys.
Dude, come on. Seriously.